Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in. Time right now in our Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios, 4:30. We're going to talk a little Jets and Giants, also the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to do that right now with Kim Jones of the NFL Network, who's kind enough to give us a few minutes right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Kim, appreciate the time today, and how are you?
I'm great, Zach. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and thanks for coming on. Let's get into that Eagles-Giant game from yesterday. I still don't understand why Doug Peterson went for it in the first half, not once, but twice. Why do you think Doug Peterson went for it in that situation?
Well, he'd tell you that he was going to be aggressive, and that he stuck to that. Ben McAdoo has had similar kind of reasoning this season with the New York Giants, so I do understand that. He was stubborn about it. Had it worked, maybe we'd all be hailing him today, and we probably would be talking about an Eagles win. It did not work, and those points obviously were very costly in the game. So being aggressive certainly cost the Eagles yesterday with those decisions.
And there's one thing to be aggressive, but early on in the game, in the first half, especially with the way that it started, throwing 2 turnovers, I think you got to take the points in that situation. And Kim, those were just 2 really bad play calls. I don't know what he's doing on the first one, running to the left with Wentz, and then the second one, it's a 1-yard situation. Why are you running with the small Darren Sproles? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, my sense is from reading what Peterson said last night and today, first of all, Jason Pierre-Paul put on a clinic with that first stop, because not only did he take away the pitch, then he stopped the quarterback. Now, he didn't have to stop Randall Cunningham. He had to stop Carson Wentz, but that was an absolute brilliant play by Jason Pierre-Paul. So there's that, and then like you said, Sproles, but probably thought he could get that yard. Definitely thought he could get that yard against the Giants' defensive front. I think perhaps the Eagles underestimated the Giants' defensive line a little bit. I think people do that because they look at stats, and obviously the Eagles scouted them. They didn't just look at stats. But I don't think that you can really understand the pressure they do get, even though they don't have the sack numbers to back that up. And I thought yesterday the D-line affected that game greatly. Steve Spagnuolo can blitz with abandon because he trusts his corners. And that really is why the Giants ended up holding on to win that game.
I want to run this theory by you, why he went for it, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. Last week against the Cowboys, he had a lot of bad decisions, and the one I actually agreed with was last week in that first half, he elected to kick the field goal, take the points instead of going for it on 4th and short. And after all the bad decisions he made last week in his post-game press conference, or actually it was the Monday after, he said the biggest regret he had was not being aggressive early on in the first half. Was he just trying to coach a little bit in this game early to make up for what happened last week and maybe try to change that regret and change what he did from a week ago?
I can't know the answer to that. I do know that in McAdoo and Peterson, we're talking about first-time head coaches. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to feel their way. They're going to learn game to game. And I can certainly understand what you just said. I thought about that as well. Did he become more aggressive because he regretted the week before? Could be, but it didn't work out either week. So what it ultimately comes down to is the right play calls, executing the plays, and being better than the guy across from you. And in some cases yesterday, the Giants' defense was just better.
Yeah, and I think that was the difference in the game because the Giants' defense, Kim, they forced turnovers early, and then at the end, Eli throws a bad pick to Jordan Hicks, and then the next thing you know, that defense did hold their own towards the end of the game. So that's Giant defense. It deserves a lot of credit, and hey, it pays off for all the money that they invested in it in the offseason.
Well, and they were 30th a year ago in scoring defense. I believe as we stand here going into the Monday night game through this week in the NFL, they're 10th. And right there, the $200 million is worth it. And people might laugh at that because I know it's $200 million, but that kind of an upgrade defensively is invaluable for an NFL team. The defense was great. You saw Steve Spagnuolo turn up the heat. They went after Wentz on every single one of those downs because he could, and it worked.
And what also worked has been Landon Collins. Give me a little bit about Landon Collins and how he's changed from last year to this year.
He's terrific. I've talked to Landon. I can't even tell you how many times in the locker room. And last year he kept telling me, when I learn the defense, it's going to be fine. When I learn the defense, it's going to be fine. And what he meant was he was studying. He knew the game plan. When the defense truly became part of him, essentially, when it was instinctive for him, he would be fine. And you're seeing him be more than fine. He leads the Giants in tackles, sacks, and interceptions, the only player in the league to lead his team in all 3 categories. He has been tremendous. He is emerging as a leader. When asked yesterday about Eli Apple getting benched, he said, I was there last year. Now, Landon didn't get benched, but Landon knew about struggling as a rookie. He said, I told him to come talk to me. So he is a guy that is really emerging. He's not a box safety. That's how he came into the draft being billed. Nick Saban said he's not a box safety. I'll go with Nick Saban on that. He is a complete safety who is becoming a really good player in this league.
And it also takes a special kid to be able to do that, because you're in New York where every single move is going to get criticized. And for him to be able to block it out, I remember after that Patriot game last year, he was getting killed for dropping the interception. It makes a special kid to be able to block that out. And I have to imagine what happened at Alabama with them also played a role in that, because we know they get a lot of large national attention as well.
I think you make a good point. He'd make that interception this year, by the way. There's no doubt in my mind. And he told us a million times he should have made it last season. I tell you what about Landon, and this is not always the case. He's been accountable since day one. He is at his locker almost every single day, not once a week, almost every single day for the media. He is engaging. He is interested. He is respectful. He is a terrific, terrific player. And the other thing he is leaner. He was at the Combine. He ran a 4.53 at the Combine. I talked to him about that yesterday. I saw him at the Combine, revisited that with him after yesterday's game. He said, I was 230 at the Combine. He's down to 216, and he is not only faster, but he's playing faster. And that's why Landon Collins right now is really emerging for this team.
Kim Jones with us from the NFL Network on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Kim, let's get to that Giants offensive line. We give so much credit to the defensive line. That offensive line, after losing Pugh, it's a very impressive job, and Brett Jones stepped up exceptionally well yesterday.
Yeah, they can't run the ball. They're not really built to run the ball. If I were the Giants, I would do what Tom Brady did to win a Super Bowl, and that's turn Shane Vereen, and by the way, Shane Vereen could be back in the next few weeks. We'll have to see. But I would turn the running backs into little passes out of the backfield. Excuse me. And I would make the running game essentially part of the passing game. But they can't run the ball. Now, they've run it at some times, some crucial times, including against the Rams. But it's really a group that for whatever reason, when the holes are there, the running back's not hitting them, and too often the holes aren't there. So they've been very challenged in the run game. You did see Marshall Newhouse, the jumbo tight end, yesterday. I guess that helped a little bit, and certainly you could see more of that now.
And that's a good Eagles defense. They're still able to put up 28 points, and I agree with you. They can't run the football. Where's your confidence, though, in this Giants offense? Because it hasn't been a smooth sailing for that offense this year.
Yeah, I think what the defense is doing, though, Zach, is it's allowing the offense to have some unexpected growing pains. Ordinarily, you'd look at this offense right now and you'd say this team would be, a 3-win team maybe? They should be a 6-win team. They are a 5-win team. So, and they're doing that by the strength of their defense. So you have to believe Eli Manning and his receivers will continue to come along, that they will continue to be aggressive, like you saw them yesterday, some downfield passes. We don't see that often from Eli anymore in this offense. I think the Giants have come to the fact that they have to be an aggressive deep ball offense, at least at times, and they did that with some success yesterday.
And the next 3 games, they're going to be able to do some more offensively because you have the Bengals, the Bears, and then the Browns. The Giants sit at 5-3. If they win these next 3 games or even take 2 out of the 3, they're in a really good position, Kim, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you, but this is a Giants team that too often loses games it should win, including the Redskins for example, in Week 3. So this is a Giants team that, as boring as it is to talk about one game at a time, they need to take these 2 days off, which they have, and get as healthy as they can get, and then worry about the Bengals. You're right; it's a stretch, 2 home games, and then a trip to Cleveland. But the Giants, this isn't a group that can do that and think big picture. It really, really has to look at what's right ahead of them.
Kim, let's just get back to the Eagles, because this was a group that started 3-0. They just dismantled the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then they go into the bye, and ever since the bye, they've been 1-4. Bryce Treggs did look good yesterday for the Eagles on the 2 catches that he did make. What kind of words of hope can you give the Eagle fan right now that after getting off to a hot start and then they're back to a little bit of reality, what we expected this season to be?
Well, you're right. The young receiver's really fast, and speed kills in this league, so that was a good sign, I thought, to get him involved. The tight end certainly could be more involved, and they're hard covers. I get that. I would get rid of the wacky read option or whatever they're actually calling that Wentz is running. I'm not sure the point of it. Giants players told me since yesterday that they'd seen some of that. It didn't surprise them that he's had some success doing it. That he didn't have success yesterday doing it, and I would probably take that out of the playbook. But I think this is an Eagles team that certainly can get it back together. The defense is really good. So I'm not suggesting this is the Eagles' year, but I don't think it's going to be a disastrous season. When you play a rookie quarterback, you're playing for the future, whether you want to admit that or not. So when they stepped on the field in the season opener, it wasn't a 2016 investment. It was for the future. You can't tell teams that, and you can't tell fans that, but that's what it is whenever you start a rookie. And I know someone's going to bring up Dak Prescott, but he is the far outlier to any of those statistics.
And also, he has a whole lot more talent around him. This Eagles offense, they just don't have the talent around Carson Wentz right now.
Absolutely. He's got a lot around him, especially the running back.
All right, Kim, before we let you run, I just got to get to the Jets because Todd Bowles, you see the reports that Muhammad Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson habitually miss team meetings. And I was on today and the Todd Bowles conference call, and he would say he was keeping that in-house. Does Todd Bowles have control of this team? Let me ask you that.
Well, lateness in the NFL is not uncommon. What I do think is uncommon is it would reach a level where you would have to take two of the players who are supposed to be two of your best players and bench them for the same first quarter. So that would be part of it in terms of the timing I would question. I do think he has control of the team. I'm not sure the chemistry on this team is the healthiest I've ever seen. I think there will be changes in the offseason, but as we know, they extended Muhammad Wilkerson in July. I think it's another 2 years before they could really conveniently get out of that contract. So they've tried to move Sheldon Richardson. It would not surprise me if something happens this offseason. Something's not working there. You don't need to cover the Jets on a regular basis to figure that out. So certainly the lateness, again, a lot of teams have it. Probably every team has players who are late once in a while. This seemingly was a lot more than once in a while.
But to continue to do it, and from an optics standpoint with Muhammad Wilkerson, it makes it look like that he's mailing it in. He got paid, and now he's not showing up consistently.
Well, and someone's fair to draw that conclusion. I'm not going to, act as his, defense attorney here. He needs to play better. If he's not healthy, he shouldn't play till he is healthy with that leg, foot area, and he should be there on time. There's no doubt about any of that. So guys who don't have their priorities in order can really sink a roster and a season. And I don't think it's their fault because they're late that the Jets are in this predicament. They haven't played well as a group, including the quarterback. But it's like I said, not the healthiest environment and really not a winning environment when you talk about what's going on with the Jets right now.
The coach may not have the decision this week to elect that, hey, I'm going to change up the quarterback or not, because Fitz may not be able to go with the injury. Now, he said if Fitz is healthy, he's going to go with them. Why do they keep on going back to Fitzpatrick? That's what I just don't get, Kim. This is a lost season now. You may as well just see what you have left with Bryce Petty.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Zach. I think that once you go to Petty, you have deemed the season a complete failure and let's see what we got here. And it's easy for us to say that after, 8 games, that's where the Jets should be, 9 games, whatever they've played. They have a late bye. But I think that's a tough pill for a team to swallow this early in the season. I think they have to try to see if they can put a couple wins together, but they still have 2 against the Patriots. So whatever you think of this Jets season, in those 2 games, it's likely to get worse rather than better.
No doubt about that. Kim, always love watching on the NFL Network. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zach, for having me. Have a great day.
You too. There's Kim Jones joining us from the NFL Network on the Zach Gelb Show. Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. 609-919-9200 is the number if you want to get on board with us right now. I actually may have an explanation to this whole Muhammad Wilkerson, Todd Bowles, Muhammad Wilkerson not showing up consistently. I interviewed Todd Bowles, I guess it was either April or May, and I did ask about Muhammad Wilkerson and their relationship. Here's what the head coach had to say.
Well, let's put it this way. He gets special privileges because he's from Temple more than anybody else. But, we have a lot in common. We talk about the dorms and the old days and when he played up until now and the facilities being built and what we had to play with. So we have a good connection that way.
So there you go. Special privileges. And I know he said that jokingly because of the Temple connection and we were at a Temple event. But maybe Mr. Bowles is giving Mr. Wilkerson too many special privileges. I'm telling you, folks, this is someone that got paid 5 years, $80+ million, and now he's mailing it in. And there's no excuse for Sheldon Richardson. Because like I said earlier, you would believe after what happened with him going 140 miles per hour with a kid in the car and the car reeking and everyone in the car reeking of marijuana, that Sheldon Richardson, who's in line to get the next big payday, and it probably won't be with the Jets, you would think he would be a model citizen. So his agent could just say, oh, that was a one-time thing. And now this is someone that does everything right ever since. Well, Sheldon Richardson, you have a job. It's to show up to your meetings, show up to practice, and show up on Sundays. Muhammad Wilkerson, you have a job. You got paid. You got paid a whole lot of money. Big boy money right there. You need to show up when the coach tells you to show up. And there's clearly an issue here with the Jets. Now, Brandon Marshall says they have full confidence in Todd Bowles. I expect him to say that. He's always been complimentary to Todd Bowles because of their relationship back in Miami. But you can't tell me Richardson and Wilkerson respect this head coach if they're habitually late to meeting after meeting after meeting. If they respect their coaching personnel, whether it's a defensive coordinator, Todd Bowles, a defensive line coach, they show up because that's what they're paid to do. This Jets team is a mess. I wonder if Todd Bowles lasts. I really do. Are they going to give him the quick axe after 2 years, or do they keep him for a third year? Usually in my school, I like to give a coach 3 years. When you're in New York, though, that may not happen, especially if they only win 1 or 2 games for the rest of the season. And their schedule, there's not a lot of slam dunk wins. This season's over. And what still I don't understand is why they are sticking with Ryan Fitzpatrick. What's the point of going on a conference call today, especially when someone's injured? He's not 110% healthy. He may not go this weekend. Why would you put yourself in that situation to say, oh, he's our quarterback if he's healthy? What has he proven to you this year to show and demonstrate that he's a viable option at the quarterback position? I just don't see it. This guy throws so many interceptions. The 2 yesterday were so comical. They were really comical. And this is a Jets team. They're a disaster. And this is an older team, too. It's an aging veteran team. This is a team that was classified as a win-now team. Oh, I can tell you, they're not doing any winning next year. And as bad as this year may be, next year could be even worse. 609-919-9200. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. We'll take one more break until the top of the hour. When we get back, we'll do a little more Giants and Eagles talk on the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.